What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Kaleb's Kung Fu Cinema, or the official spin-off channel for Kaleb's Kung Fu Cinema, my bi-weekly podcast where I cover all of your favorite martial arts films. It's time. I talked about this in a couple of my previous videos, and it's finally time to get this out there, which, by the way, the day that this video is going to be posted, Sunday the 28th, it's my birthday. I'm now 29 years old, and I feel much older than that, but, yeah, anyway, with that out of the way, yeah, it's finally time. This is the Asian Cinema Circle collaboration video that I had been talking about for the last few weeks. Basically what the Asian Cinema Circle is, I'll give you guys a very quick explanation, and then we'll get into the main topic. But basically what the Asian Cinema Circle is we are just a group of like-minded YouTubers who all love Asian films, whether it's Hong Kong action, Japanese action, Hong Kong drama, and so on, just Asian films in general. Basically, what we do here is every few months or so, we do a collaboration where we pick a subject, and every channel in the circle will do a video on that subject. I am one of the newest additions to the circle, which is great. I honestly love that I'm a part of it because I've met some really amazing people, and I've talked to some amazing people and learned so much. But yeah, it's just really cool. But before we jump into the main topic, I do want to give a shout out to every other member of the Asian Cinema Circle. Those members include A Touch of Film, Amphlet Reviews, Cool Moviegram, Film Fan Dojo, Flip Otaku, Hong Kong Blu-rays, the Hong Kong Cinema Appreciation Society, Jake on Film, the Martial Arts Film Freak, Martial Arts Theater 3000, the Fanatical Dragon, and Them's Fighting Words. The topic that the Asian Cinema Circle has chosen for this collaboration is basically how I got into martial arts films, or as Amphlet Reviews has been calling it, Asian Cinema Circle Origins. So you'll probably see the word origins in many of our thumbnails. But yeah, our subject for this collaboration is how I got into martial arts films, and also I will post links in the description for all the other members of the circle whenever they get their videos up there. So yeah, check those links in the description, and you can watch their videos on the subject as well. Yeah, basically just check those out. I haven't seen anything yet. I don't know who all has gotten started. I believe Martial Arts Film Freak has already filmed his. But yeah, anyway, check them out, and let us all know what you think in the comments. And be nice, be civil, of course. But the circle is this is a really exciting thing, and I think we're all very eager to get these videos out. I know I sure am. The story of how I got into martial arts films is pretty scattered throughout various podcast episodes I've done, but today you guys are going to get basically the full story. This is a relatively easy story to tell, but I will do my best to make sure that it is not too long, because sometimes I tend to harp on or kind of go on tangents, I guess, but I will do my best to keep this story as short as possible, but also give you guys as many details as I can. Basically what I want to do here, the idea I had for this video is I'm just going to show you guys the first, or technically not first 5 films, but but 5 kung fu films that I watched as a kid that had the biggest impact on me. Like each one of these films, basically cemented my love for kung fu films and just martial arts films in general. Each one of these films did something for me that made me just go, okay, yeah, I love these movies, and this is what I want to see for the rest of my life. This is what I want to talk about, and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm going to walk you guys through 5 films that cemented my love for kung fu films, or martial arts films in general. Sorry. But yeah, I'll just walk you guys through those really quickly. Some of these films I have done podcast episodes on, and of course I'll leave my link tree in the description as well, and you guys can check out the podcast episodes that I've done these movies on. But yeah, I'll walk you guys through those, and maybe even have a couple of special honorable mentions while we're at it. Kicking things off with the very first kung fu film I ever saw, Bruce Lee's Fist of Fury. I think it's safe to say that most people obviously don't remember a lot that happened when they were 3 years old. I know I definitely don't. I don't remember most of that year of my life. Obviously, I mean, I was 3, so this might sound kind of strange, but the one thing that I do remember, and I've always remembered it even to this day, is I was probably 3 or 4 years old. And my father showed me the film Fist of Fury, and in short, before I go on, I'll just say, in short, my father's basically why I love these movies, because if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't know them, because my dad's a really big fan of martial arts films, and he just made it a point. I guess when I was a kid, he made it a point that I see these movies because he loved them, and I guess this was something that he and I could bond over. I guess that's how he looked at it. I don't know, or he just wanted me to see how awesome these movies were. But yeah, I remember being 3 or 4 years old, and my dad showed me Fist of Fury. Fist of Fury is just an incredible movie. For a long time, I said it was my favorite martial arts movie of all time. This day and age, though, I don't think I can make that. I could make that claim, because I've seen so many since then, and there are some that I honestly think are better. But Fist of Fury is still, in my opinion, one of the greats, and it's just an incredible, very incredible martial arts movie. And that little clip that you guys saw in the opening there, that was the first big fight scene in the film, where Bruce Lee takes on an entire dojo of Japanese martial artists, and it's just an insane fight sequence. I absolutely love it, and I remember when I first saw that, I was blown away. And kids, many things. There are many things that could just like blow a kid's mind, and this was it for me. When I saw this fight scene, I was just like, okay, wow, who is this guy? Why is he so awesome? And how is he beating all these people by himself? It's just really awesome. But yeah, that was my first one. That was my first martial arts film, and at that point right there, it became all about Bruce Lee for me. I watched Fist of Fury first, obviously, and then afterwards, my dad showed me his other films, Big Boss, Enter the Dragon, Way of the Dragon, and even Game of Death, although I don't really consider Game of Death a Bruce Lee film. That's just me, though. But he showed me all those, and I thought those were all great too, honestly. I really did. And even nowadays, I do think Way of the Dragon and Enter the Dragon are a little bit overrated, but they are still great fun movies. And I even like Game of Death, like the 1978 one that we ended up getting. I don't consider that a Bruce Lee film. Excuse me, not a full-fledged one, at least. And despite that, I still think it's a pretty fun and pretty entertaining movie. But yeah, Fist of Fury was where it all started, and it's and to this day, I watched the film like last week. I think I watch it quite often. I mean, anytime I feel like watching a Bruce Lee film, Fist of Fury is usually the first one I pop in there. Up next, we have Born Invincible. Oh, such a wacky movie. Yeah, so yeah, after all the Bruce Lee films that I saw, um, I remember I remember my dad showed me this one, Born Invincible, which was directed by Joseph Kuo and has Carter Wong, who we all know as most of us know as Thunder from Big Trouble in Little China. Also has legends like Jack Long and Mark Long in it. Yeah, this movie's crazy. I remember seeing this. My dad bought me the VHS, much like he did with all the other films. And the I remember when I watched this, what I loved about this movie was it felt so different from what I was used to because, like I said earlier, I watched nothing but Bruce Lee, and this was completely different, completely new to me. So Born Invincible was choreographed by the legendary Yuen Wu Ping, who is my favorite fight choreographer, and this film was my introduction to Yuen Wu Ping style fight choreography. There's a lot of crazy acrobatics and flips and other really insane athletic stuff that happens. This film was also kind of my introduction to like very elaborate weapons fights because before with Bruce Lee, he really just used nunchucks and would use them for a minute or so. Unless we're talking a film like Way of the Dragon, where there was a really long sequence of him fighting a whole bunch of people. I don't know if I said Enter Way of the Dragon, but Way of the Dragon is what I meant to say, where he fights a whole bunch of guys and he's got two pairs of nunchucks. There's a whole nunchuck sequence in Game of Death, so all I really knew was nunchucks. And this film, Born Invincible, has a lot of stuff. It's got swords, it's got spears, it's just it's got all kinds of really cool weapons, and this was this was also different because of how many crazy characters there were. Born Invincible has so many wacky characters, and something I love about martial arts films, what draws me to them, aside from the fight scenes, the other thing that draws me to them is the characters. And what I love about Born Invincible is all the crazy characters there are. I mean, Carter Wong plays the villain. You guys saw him in the clip there. He's got all white robes, long white hair. I didn't put any sound in it, obviously, but his voice in the film is very high pitched. And there are just many moments where he's like cackling and laughing like really loud. It's so funny, and it's also just very bizarre. But the fight scenes in that movie, oh my god, they are so awesome. Again, that's Yuen Wu Ping. His fight choreography is just insane, and one thing I love about him is how like diverse he is in his choreography, because in films like Born Invincible, it's very elaborate. There's a lot of tumbling and flips and stuff like that. And then in other films, it's like like straight up brawling. And that's what I like about him. It's just how diverse his choreography can be. But yeah, I remember Born Invincible. There's a great sequence in Born Invincible where so Carter Wong is fighting Jack Long's character. It's in that clip that we just saw, and Carter Wong's character, they're fighting in this just like piece of dirt land, and he does this thing where he creates the Bagua symbol in the dirt. And it's like perfectly done. There's just like just little blocks, and then there's the yin and yang and all that stuff. But I thought that was so cool as a kid, and I remember when I would go outside and play, if there was dirt around, I would try to do that. Like if there was a playground and had sand, I would try to do that. I would be standing there doing the kung fu moves and trying to make the Bagua symbol in the dirt. I could never do it, obviously, but I always thought that was really cool. And another funny thing is that I learned that the actor Lung Fei is in that movie. So Lung Fei he did a ton of films with Joseph Kuo. He was in he was in Seven Grandmasters, World of Drunken Master. He's a really amazing guy, and but funny enough, my introduction to Lung Fei was the film Kung Pao Enter the Fist, which is a parody. If you guys don't know, the character that Lung Fei played in Tiger and Crane Fists, that was the film that was used for Kung Pao. The character that Lung Fei played in Tiger and Crane Fists is used as the character Betty in Kung Pao. But I remember I saw Born Invincible first, and then I saw Kung Pao. And it took me a really long time to put the two together, but I remember watching Born Invincible when I was old enough to kind of comprehend everything. And I saw Lung Fei. I just laughed and I was like, "Hey, it's Betty." But yeah, this is a little funny tidbit for you guys. But yeah, Born Invincible. I love that movie. I remember. And another thing I remember doing a lot as a kid, like other than trying to make the Bagua symbol in the dirt, I would do the thing where he like does this and and that again, there's no sound in that clip, but every time he does this, there's this whistling sound. It's really funny. I love it so much. But yeah, Born Invincible is definitely in probably my top 10 all time favorite kung fu films. That's many people probably wouldn't put it in their top 10, but for me, there's a lot of nostalgia. But yeah, Born Invincible is a truly incredible film, and I really wish that they would do a new Blu-ray remaster of that film. But hopefully one day they will. I mean, we'll see. Moving on with my very first Jackie Chan film, Spiritual Kung Fu. Another pretty crazy one. Spiritual Kung Fu was my very first Jackie Chan film, obviously, and that was actually a movie that he did before becoming the really big star that he would go on to become. Because whenever he did Spiritual Kung Fu, or after it was finished, rather, it sat on the shelf for quite some time, and it was because Lo Wei, the director, his company apparently had went bankrupt at that time, and so Jackie Chan was basically loaned out to seasonal films, and he made Snake and the Eagle's Shadow, and Drunken Master with that company, and those are the two films that cemented his legacy. Basically, I mean, he did those two films, and his popularity blew up. Everybody loved him after that, and the rest is history. But yeah, I saw Spiritual Kung Fu first, and yeah, it's a really crazy movie. Jackie Chan plays a guy who lives in the Shaolin Temple, and he learns kung fu, more specifically the five animals forms, from ghosts. You guys probably saw them in the clip there, but yeah, they were obviously white, really long red hair, and each ghost has an animal on top of their head representing which style: dragon, snake, crane, tiger, etc. Yeah, I remember that movie. I remember thinking that movie was again, much like Born Invincible, very different from what I was used to, and it was very this was one of those movies where I thought where I realized, okay, kung fu movies can be badass, and they can have a lot of really crazy action sequences, and they can also be very funny, because this movie does have some pretty hilarious moments, and also some kind of strange humor. But that's kind of how Hong Kong films were back then, having just very, very odd humor. And I remember this is another one of those movies that I tried to what's the word, like mimic. I would like mimic like Jackie Chan's animal forms, and there's a brilliant fight sequence towards the end where Jackie's character fights numerous Shaolin monks. It's a test that he has to do. I can't remember how many there were. I want to say there's probably 18 or 19 of them, but he fights all of them, and that's a really incredible sequence. He uses tonfas. Everyone's got the monks have spears and staffs and stuff like that. It's that's a really incredible sequence. James Tien is also in the film. He played Shu Shang in Bruce Lee's The Big Boss, and that was the first time I saw James Tien in The Big Boss. Every time I saw a movie afterwards, I had him in it. I would say, "Hey, it's Shu Shang." It's something my dad and I joke about a lot, and yeah, and it's Spiritual Kung Fu, a pretty entertaining Jackie movie. It's also just it's entertaining, but it's also just completely mental. It's so bizarre, but it's got some charm to it, and and what's kind of funny, I think this is a little strange here, but it kind of, there was one moment in the movie that kind of reminded me of Dragon Ball, and I know that Dragon Ball was inspired in part by Jackie Chan movies, but there's a scene in Spiritual Kung Fu where Jackie is talking to this girl, and he says he's never met a girl before, which is very, very Goku-esque, you know. But I remember putting those two things together like years later. I'm a big Dragon Ball fan as well, but yeah, Spiritual Kung Fu is a very fun movie, albeit a very bizarre one as well. But I definitely recommend people check that out, because it was done before Jackie like really became a star. Up next, we have my very first Jet Li film, Kung Fu Cult Master. Sorry to disappoint on this one, but I honestly don't remember a lot about Kung Fu Cult Master. I just remember that it was my very first Jet Li film, and there are a couple of things. There are many gaps in this memory, but I do remember some things about the movie. I remember there being this really old-looking guy who was chained to this big boulder, and I remember a scene like in the beginning of the movie where Jet Li is on this like cliff, and he's playing a flute, and that's honestly all I remember. Like that clip that you guys just saw a moment ago from the film, I don't even remember that fight scene, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, Kung Fu Cult Master was my very first Jet Li film. But I threw that in there because, like I said, it was the first. But the one I remember more than Kung Fu Cult Master is The New Legend of Shaolin, also known as Legend of the Red Dragon. I have more memories of that one because I think I watched that one more often than I did Kung Fu Cult Master. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a lot to share as far as Kung Fu Cult Master goes. And I really, really, really want to revisit that movie. I just haven't found it yet. I do search for the film quite often, but I just haven't been able to find a copy or anything like that yet. I really do want to revisit it so that I can give a better opinion on it, because I haven't seen it since I was a really small kid, and I think if I watched it now, I'd be able to give a better breakdown and a better opinion of it. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't do that for this. But yeah, why did I throw it in there? Because it was my first Jet Li film. But yeah, if you guys have seen Kung Fu Cult Master and you have an opinion of it, I'd really like to hear it. So drop it in the comments right there. Because yeah, unfortunately, I don't remember a whole lot about it. It's yeah, it's just something that it's something I do remember seeing, and I remember it being my first Jet Li film, and I remember my dad telling me that this guy is Jet Li, he's awesome, and I remember thinking he was awesome when I saw that movie, and I would watch all of his other films after that, but the ones I remember more than this were New Legend of Shaolin and Fist of Legend, but yeah, sorry, I don't remember a whole lot about Kung Fu Cult Master. Time for an honorable mention, and that is the video game Tekken 3. I'm going to try to keep this part short and sweet because I still have a plan to do a more in-depth video on the Tekken game franchise. But yeah, Tekken 3 was a um, very huge part in my childhood, and it also helped me in my love for martial arts films because there are so many things about the Tekken franchise that and three in general, or three more specifically, sorry, that that helped me get into other kung fu films because the one of the characters in Tekken 3 is Mokujin, and Mokujin's design, he's a wooden dummy. His design is based on the Jackie Chan film Shaolin Woodman, and that was also one of the very first Jackie Chan films I saw. It was probably the second or the third Jackie Chan film overall that I had seen. Um, but I remember many nights and days playing Tekken 3 with my dad and my uncle, and yeah, and I remember I would usually use Forest Law, sorry, Forest Law, who was the son of Martial Law. I remember using Forest Law quite a bit because he looked like Bruce Lee, obviously. And I remember I used Jin a lot because he just looked really cool and had a great move set. Lei Wulong obviously is based on Jackie Chan just by his design and his fighting style, but yeah, Tekken 3 was another really big part. I would play that game so much, and when I was old enough to research all this stuff, I would see like various aspects of the game and of the characters that were based on things in martial arts films, and that helped me get into other martial arts films as well. So yeah, that's a huge Tekken 3 is a huge factor as well. And closing things out, we have my fifth and final film, which was also my very first Donnie Yen film, Iron Monkey. This is an insane one. I love Iron Monkey. It's such a fun movie, and it's so action packed. Once again, it's another Yuen Wu Ping choreographed film, and it's just got some of the best fight choreography you'll ever see. And this for me was like top tier. I remember my dad again showed me Iron Monkey, and the and that movie had such an impact on me. I would go as like once again as a kid. I would be outside playing. I would pretend to be the Iron Monkey. But the thing with him is he looked like a ninja. He was essentially that, but he was also like Robin Hood. He would take from the rich, give to the poor, that sort of thing. But I remember watching this movie and seeing Donnie Yen for the first time. Donnie Yen was the one who you could argue he's the main character, but Yu Rong Guang is also in the film, and it's also arguable that he's the main character as well. I think they both kind of share starring roles here. But I remember seeing Donnie Yen in this film, and I thought again his abilities and the choreography and everything, and his kicks more specifically, those blew me away. I thought the fight choreography in that film was so great. There's a fair amount of undercranking in that film, but it still works. And this was another one of those movies where it's got incredible action, and it's just it has some tense moments, and at the same time it's very funny. Iron Monkey is a riot in terms of comedy. I think it's very funny. There's there's a scene where the Iron Monkey is Yu Rong Guang. He's pretending to be like I can't remember what he was called. He was some kind of prime minister or something like that. He was pretending to be one. He was in disguise. That's a really funny scene. There's another really funny scene where Donnie Yen in the film plays Wang Ke-ying, who was the father of Chinese folk hero Wang Fei Hung. This is also kind of a Wang Fei Hung story as well. But there's a really funny scene where Donnie Yen's character Wang Ke-ying is really hungry, and he keeps like sneaking food behind Iron Monkey's wife's back. That's a really funny scene. And there are other scenes with the I don't think he was the emperor, but he was some kind of he was like a governor, I think, in the film. There's a lot of really funny moments with him. but yeah, it's Iron Monkey is just crazy, and I remember like that movie. That movie again also made a huge impact on me. I just it was the fight scenes really and the characters, but the fight scenes are just very are just very crazy and very elaborate. Donnie's kicks in the movie, like I said that already, but his kicks are really fierce and fast in that movie. It's just a lot of fun. But yeah, I love Iron Monkey, and it's one of my favorite films. It's one of my most essential ones. I will recommend that movie to anybody, and it also had just a very huge, long-lasting impact on me. Yeah, that's all I can really say. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but yeah, I love Iron Monkey. And it was also the very first time I saw characters using light skill in the film in a film and fighting on the giant wooden poles. That's a really amazing final fight sequence, and it was also referenced in the fight scene itself was referenced in the video game The Matrix Path of Neo, which is just a nice little Easter egg for you guys. So there you have it. That was my very that was my introduction to martial arts films. How I got into martial arts films. This video is probably going to be a little longer than I than I initially thought or initially wanted. But you know what? I think I think I'm proud of. I think I'm going to be proud of how it turns out. Sorry, I think I gave a good story and good details. So yeah, that's it for this one. Thank you for watching. Once again, this was an Asian Cinema Circle collaboration. I'll leave links in the description for you guys to check out all their videos. Once again, this was a collaboration, and the subject was we talk about how we got into martial arts films. This was my story. I'll leave the links in the description, obviously, and you can hear all the other guys' story. Another shout out to them. Yeah, hopefully we get to do this again very soon. We'll do another collaboration probably in a few months. It just depends on how schedules line up and everything. But yeah, that's it. And don't forget to keep an eye out for the very next episode of my podcast, Kaleb's Kung Fu Cinema. My very next episode is going to be out on September or sorry, September 3rd, which is a Saturday. Yeah, I'm going to be talking about a very funny martial arts comedy film, Beverly Hills Ninja, starring Chris Farley. I'm really looking forward to that. I think that's a great movie, and I think we're gonna have a lot of fun talking about it. So yeah, thanks for checking it out. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell, comment, all that good YouTube stuff that we like to plug. And don't forget to check out all the other channels in the Asian Cinema Circle. Again, I'll leave the links in the description for you guys. So yeah, thank you. I'll see you in the next video.